It's time for Science of the Season! And in the studio this morning with our expert, Professor Richie. Professor, this letter from a youngster south of town who writes in, how much energy is expended by the typical choral group?
How much energy is expended by the typical choral group? So let's take the average group of 2 sopranos, 2 altos, 2 tenors, and 2 basses. The amount of air exhaled and consumed is equal to that of 8 individuals being put into a 9x12 room with a 10-foot ceiling. Breathing heavily, they equal 1 ton of air conditioning.
This has been Science of the Season! It's time for Science of the Season! And we're in the studio this morning with our expert, Professor Richie. Professor, any favorite questions from this season's mail?
Here's an interesting question for some of our Hanukkah listeners. Can a dreidel reach escape velocity? This is truly a good question. Using the typical 4-finger thumb click and thrust, a dreidel can reach a velocity of approximately 35 miles per hour, far short of the 87 miles per hour needed for liftoff and far short of the 132 feet per second needed to reach orbit. When attempting this escape velocity experiment, remember, do this outdoors and wear proper eye protection. This has been Science of the Season!
It's time for Science of the Season! And we're in the studio this morning with our expert, Professor Richie. Professor, any favorite questions from this season's mail?
A question I've been asked a lot in this holiday season is, what exactly are mistletoe berries? Well, just so you know, mistletoe berries are the dried testicle remains of the elves that Santa uses. By removing their testicles, Santa achieves the fact that those elves will work for him continually without any other outside interest getting in their way. Therefore, Santa is able to achieve a maximum production schedule, which allows him to travel around the globe and bring happy holidays to all of us.
This has been Science of the Season! It's time for Science of the Season! And we're in the studio this morning with our expert, Professor Richie. Professor, this letter just in from a family who has just moved here from out of town, asking, what is fruitcake?
Probably the most interesting holiday question is, what is fruitcake? Fruitcake is one of the oldest holiday questions and concerns on many people's minds because fruitcake is the remains of northern glacial moraines. That's right. Each spring when those glaciers retreat, young women head north and slice with carbide-tipped saws and then festively wrap those cake residues. Just in case you were wondering what is done with out-of-date fruitcake, it is used to fill those 70-pound plastic tubes we buy at our local hardware store as a traction device to put in the trunks of our cars or the beds of our trucks during festive weather.
This has been Science of the Season! It's time for Science of the Season! And we're in the studio with our expert, Professor Richie. Professor, this letter in this morning from a youngster who lives in the northern section of town asking, what is spray snow?
That's an excellent question. What is spray snow? Spray snow is a flocculated precipitate caused by chemical small bubble release, short chains turning into long ones, a polymer expansion. You push the top, let go to stop. Spray snow, sticky when wet, on those windows especially. It dries crusty and hard, which makes it even more fun to remove after the festive holiday season.
This has been Science